Well, hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. You are joining the new in segment, which is, of course, the Paddock Show. This is a chance for us to bring you close to the drivers, and of course, this also means we'll be seeing those guest drivers that we will introduce shortly to hot laps, seeing our guys try and do their best to post the hottest lap they can do around the new track, which is of course Spa. I'm Energy Dan, I'll be your host and commentator this evening. Joining me as always, as my co-commentator is Warislander. Warislander, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm alright. Thanks for having me, Dan. Once again, doing some hot laps, and now it's at my favorite track, actually.
Oh wow! So watch out, F1 League, eh?
I hope so.
Yeah. So Waris, just tell our viewers really quickly about yourself, who you raced for, what league you're in, mate.
Yeah, so I race in the F1 League together with Burmeister at Ferrari.
Ah, perfect. And what are you racing on, Waris? Are you on pad or wheel? And if you're on a wheel, what is it, mate?
I'm on the Fanatec F1 Esports wheel with the load cell pedal. I've just got it new since a few weeks, so I'm still getting used to it, sort of.
Ooh, very fancy, mate. Very fancy. Yeah, I think that beats my Logitech G29 all day long, mate. So fair play for that, mate. So yeah, I mean, what we'll really quickly do, guys, is just run through the action this week, which is of course second round of Season X, and it was at the beautiful Yas Marina of Abu Dhabi. Eventful races across the board, absolutely brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed watching them all back, commentating on the F2 League, and of course racing the realistic performance. So first off is F1 with Gareth and Sab, beautiful duo that bring us some absolute fantastic commentary. We had spins on lap 1 in the race. We had 2 stops and 1 stop strategies. We also saw a fantastic Williams team play, which was basically the Williams holding up, I believe it was Gamer, meaning that the Williams retained the lead, so which was very good to see, always good to see team play. But yeah, later on we saw last lap fights as well, absolute action from start to finish, so if you haven't watched it, guys, do go back and watch that on the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel. The podium sitters for the F1 League were Harry, Hercules and Gamer. Absolute brilliant outing. Like I said, guys, do go back and watch that. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. But then, of course, that comes on to Tuesday night's race with Malk and Tim. However, this week we did have the aforementioned commentators of Gareth and Sab standing in. Absolute fantastic race. Not too bad for myself, but I could have done better. But yeah, we had 3 safety cars, 2 virtual safety cars. We lost 8 drivers in the Realistic Performance League on Tuesday night. So yeah, very eventful race. And as always, guys, do go back onto the YouTube channel and check it out. Your podium finishes for that race were Carlsberry, Scopefielder, and then Tom Almanac. And 1 point to make is yours, Stephen, actually making up 14 positions in that race. So an absolute blistering outing for old Stephen. And then, of course, that brings us on to the Wednesday night racing. We have 2 leagues running parallel. We have the F2 League and the F3 League. Now, F2 League commentated by myself and James Hook. In F2, we had qualifying wars. Very, very strange outing, to be honest with you. But we had, yeah, a very rare Porsche showing for TB. We had 12 seconds of penalties, I believe TB had by the end of the race. Sab was up 14 positions by lap 6. We had Aaron J pitting for mediums on lap 11 and had a very good result. Just like the F1 League, we saw the Mercedes in qualifying of Reschke and Rimac using the slipstream method to try and build up their lap times. It was very good to see when guys work together, reminiscent of the F1 race. So very good as well. But we also saw a very strange one. In the closing stages of qualifying, we saw Lepenski crash into the barrier. And very shortly after that, Rimac had a very narrow escape on his last hot lap, just missing Lepenski, who was still sitting sideways on the track, but did very well to avoid him. And then Tanker, once the car was cleared, he actually came a cropper on the barrier. The barrier was sticking out, you know, the rubberized Armco barrier. That was sticking out, and that ended Tanker's lap. So very strange outing in the qualifying for F2. But your podium sitters, or podium finishers for that race were Delange picking up his first place, Arbis in second, and then Aaron J in third place. And then that brings us finally onto the F3 League, commentated by Harry and Charlie. It was the 62nd race start for F1 Richard. And he's also got a very good result, which we'll come to in a second. Steel B losing out to penalties pretty much at the finish line, and Wojtek having an absolute solid result there. So yeah, the podium finishes for the F3 League. F1 Richard, which is his maiden win for Invictus, 62 race starts, and he's finally got a race win under his belt. Steel B losing out at the finish line to penalties. F1 Richard obviously keeping his nose clean, which obviously always pays. And Wojtek having a very good outing. He did a one-stop strategy to finish third. And I believe, Mr. P, if you're listening, mate, did you get fastest lap for the F3 League?
I was. Yeah, there was the fastest lap in there, yeah.
Yeah, so fair play to Mr. P there. And of course, lastly, we've got the Xbox League kicking off on Sunday at 9:30, commentated by Dan and Kev. Now, it's not on the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel. It is, in fact, on the old Twitch channel for Invictus, which is twitch.tv/Invictus Racing Leagues. So do join in and watch us as we watch the Xbox guys go through there. So, Waris, did you manage to catch all the action this week?
Yeah, almost all. As I said last week, I always try to catch up in the weekend as well. But yeah, most of the times it's good and fair racing. Certainly comparing it to some other leagues that you can find on the internet. And yeah, I think Abu Dhabi wasn't quite my track this week, so I'm even looking forward even more to next week with Spa.
Yeah, your favourite track, isn't it, mate?
Well, it used to be my best track always. So hopefully I can live up to that once again.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. So, Waris, if you would like to introduce our guest drivers this week, that'd be great, mate.
Yeah, so we've got Luke Bailey, Mr. P, as has been mentioned, and Lozak. Starting with Lozak, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. I'm Lozak. I'm racing in the F1 League and in the Realistic Performance 1, and I'm using a wheel, the G29, like then. And yeah, last season was very good, and this season for me it's a bit more build up for learning to drive without assist. So yeah, we will see.
Okay, great, thank you, mate. Then moving on to Luke Bailey. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Luke Bailey, racing F3 and Performance. Race for Alfa Romeo on the F3 League, and my teammate is Mr. P on both.
Thank you. Then moving on to him, Mr. P, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Mr. P, racing the Performance League, in the F3 League for Alpha, and like Luke said, we are teammates in both.
So you're going to do some slipstreaming tonight in the hot laps, I suppose.
Luckily we've got things in place to stop you guys doing that. So, yeah, as always, guys, Waris will be going out first on the hot laps. You guys are going to have to try and beat him, but before we do that, let's just talk about Spa. I mean, like Waris Lander, it is a very good track for myself. I do like it. It's technical, fast flowing, a couple of slow corners in there. I mean, jumping guys, what do you think of Spa? Are you looking forward to it? What's to watch out for here?
So yeah, I'll start off. Obviously, it's one of those tracks where you have to be very careful on lap 1 and not think about lap 1, but about lap 22 in this case. If you are on the inside of Les Sources, your race can be sort of almost over after a few hundred meters, so that's something to watch out for. And then the way up to Eau Rouge can be very tricky if you run too much weight on the front of the car. You can get some oversteer and go straight into the barriers. That's also something to watch out for. And then obviously very quick track and very difficult to get the perfect lap together because it's so long with so much varieties of corners.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, mate. But I mean, what would you say about wet running around here, Waris?
It's certainly something you have to be prepared for because it's a high chance it's going to be wet. But I think then the key is to maybe just everywhere be just a little bit more cautious, brake 20-30 meters earlier, and make sure you don't make mistakes, because I think that can help you a lot. And it's also you have to be very look at how the track's evolving all the time, because if you make the right decision and you go in one lap earlier than the others to pit for inters or slicks or wet tires, maybe when it's starting to rain, that can make such a huge difference, because the lap times are 2 minutes or something when it's raining. So if you have the quicker tire, then you're really going to win a lot of seconds, maybe win even the race on that.
Yeah, good point, mate. Good point. Moving on to Lozak, mate. What are your thoughts of Spa? Is it something you like? What do you do differently? Give us your intake, mate.
I really like Spa because it's a historic track and a really good track and fun to drive. But I find it very challenging, especially the second sector, where you have to deal with this corner with low downforce, because you have to run low downforce in your car for the longest straight. But again, in these long right and left corners, you have to deal with the cars is a bit more unstable. And but it's a very fun track, and looking forward to the race.
Good stuff. And then Mr. P, what's your thoughts on Spa, mate?
Yeah, it's not. I'll be honest, it's not one of my favourite tracks. So just looking to get a solid result. Really, it's one of those tracks where you're sacrificing downforce on bends for the straights. So I think if you do it the other way around and put more downforce on, you end up losing more in the straights than what you do in the bends with less sort of downforce. So it's a tricky one, to be honest.
It is. I mean, I understand what both of you are saying about that, because you've got turns 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, Lecombes, Melmedi and Bruxelles, where you require that downforce, especially turn 10, the open hairpin of Bruxelles. It's a very tricky corner. I mean, I've seen a lot of different lines going through there, open lines, tight lines. So yeah, it's going to be a juggle between the setups. But Luke, do you want to jump in on this one, mate? What's your thoughts on Spa, mate?
Yeah, I'm the same. The faster tracks don't seem to suit my style. So same, if I could get a good result here, I'd be happy with that. I just seem to be better at the more street circuit type ones, where up to now they're my only wins, like the likes of Monaco and Singapore. But yeah, it would just be the driving style.
Yeah, so I mean, would you, based on what you said, would you say that's because your concentration is better when you've got more to deal with?
I'm not sure. I think it's just the driving style. I think the long sweeping corners, and I just don't think they suit me. But
mate, that's a great insight for our viewers. That's brilliant, mate. I'm not too bad round here, to be honest with you. I don't mind it. I'm not the fastest driver anyway, but yeah, it's a track that I enjoy driving, which I think is a key element to being good on a circuit, is if you enjoy it. So yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued to see what we have next week in regards to the weather around here, because it's a totally different track from dry to wet. It really is. So that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the other one to think about as well is, of course, the tyre strategies. I think it is possible to do a one-stop round here, because obviously you're not using much tyres. But Waris, do you want to weigh on this one with tyre strategy? Would you say it's a definite one-stop, or do you think a two-stop could work?
I think it is a one-stop, yeah. But it is, it's quite tricky on the tires, because at the end of the stint your tires are pretty much worn, and then it's a very long lap to do the in-lap. But I think it's, I've sort of forgotten about it, because I've had a race 2 weeks ago or something. Right. But I think it was quite an easy one-stop, so it is possible. Still though, it's not, as it's not very easy to pull it off just like that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Lozak, coming to you, mate. What would you say about the first stint in regards to running low downforce but having high fuel? In particular, Eau Rouge and Radillon. I think if you're running low downforce, the high fuel is going to make your car very unstable through there. Is that something that would worry you?
Yeah, because I find it very unstable. So you have to maybe lift a bit in the mid or rouge, or actually Radeon. But yeah, and but anyway, yeah, you have to be careful because if you have a lot of battles and overtakes in the first stint, the tires were very much more than the clean first stint, obviously, and so if the tires, I don't know, is maybe 50% wear and you go through a rouge with a lot of fuel. Anyway, you have to be very careful also in the faster corners, like you mentioned, turn 10 with hot tires and maybe a bit wear. It can be very easy to spin and go into the wall, I think. So it's small mistakes that cost you the race, probably.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going on to Mr. P, would you think the inside line at the hairpin at turn 10, is that something you'd be worried about, especially like what Lozak said about, you know, low tyre wear? I mean, that curve on the inside, I believe if you do touch that, it's a bit of an auto spinner. Is that something you'd be worried about for Spa?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think you got to stay away from that curb. You just got to be totally wary that you're running high fuel. So I think, to be honest, with Spa, it's more of a case of sort of slow and steady wins the race, really. To be honest, because I think, you know, there's a really long lap, so yeah, I think you just got to go easy on it, really, rather than take risks. You know, I'd rather lift off and lose half a second than go in it full pelt and end up.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean,
Spinning and losing.
There's another, one of the last elements I want to talk about is, of course, the Bus Stop Chicane. It's got a very tricky pit entry with as you come into the pit on the left-hand side, you've got that little Kelly block that can quite easily take your left front tyre off. But approaching the Bus Stop Chicane, you're probably looking at 180, 160, 170 miles an hour, and then heavy braking. And if you overshoot your braking, you've got to come back on yourself to get into the pit entry. So, Luke, is that something that you'd be worried about, Bus Stop Chicane and the pit entry?
Yeah, it's like you said, if you overshoot it, you're making it very hard for yourself to get into the pits. I just think, just be that extra careful. Just make sure you brake that little bit earlier. Just take it easier into the pits.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Guys, thank you so much for the insights into Spa. I'll be looking forward to watching all your races. So that will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday coming up. So for those races, guys, I wish you all the best of luck. But I think that concludes this discussion for Spa, and that brings us on to the most anticipated part of the show, of Paddock Show, is of course the hot laps. Have you guys done much running around here? Lozak, have you practiced around here yet?
Yeah, not yet, because yeah, I didn't have the chance to do it, but we'll see now how it goes. Yeah.
I think, Waris, we know you've had a race here 2 weeks ago, so I think you're semi-prepared. Luke, have you done any running around here yet?
Yeah, I've just had a good half an hour before we've come on, so...
Good stuff. So you're prepared, mate, yeah?
Good half an hour.
Mr. P, what about yourself, mate? Have you done any running around here?
Yeah, about half hour, so not prepared. It's one of those tracks, I think you got to put the legwork in. It's so long, there's so many technical corners. The setup's very obscure to the track, really, so I think you've got to put the legwork in before you know where you're at, really.
Good stuff. So, Lozak, you've chosen the Red Bull. Warislander, you're in the Ferrari. Luke Bailey's chosen the McLaren, and of course, Mr. P80 is in the Alfa Romeo. So yeah, I think we should crack on and go to the circuit, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, good.
Okay, so for the hot laps, we normally have all our drivers going out on the soft tyre, which is obviously the fastest tyre. But if any of our drivers want to go out on the mediums, then they can do. I'm not sure anybody will be willing to do that, but we'll soon see. So what we'll see is we'll see Warislander come out, and we will hear from Warislander himself, talk us through the lap of Spa. Once Waris starts his hot lap, we will then see Lozak come out to do his out lap, and the same follows until we get down to Mr. P80. So Waris, if you want to take it out on our hot lap, on our out lap, and just give us a rundown of the circuit.
Yeah, let's do that. So in the pit lane, quite a short pit lane in terms of time because you sort of cut the first corner here. You have to be careful on the exit though because it's very tight. And coming out of the pit lane, I once heard Stoffel van Doorn say, "You always want to take Eau Rouge flat on the first outing, but you never do. Let's see if we can do it this time around." We managed to, but we're not in an actual F1 car. That makes a difference, I guess. DRS opening here to the Camel Straight. All the Dutch fans normally over there on the left. And then braking at 75 meters, just around, and then back to 4. This can be very slippery here, very oversteery. Bit of a lift off to the right hand, and then I believe this is Bruxelles. It's it's multiple lines as you said possible through there. Strangely enough, just a little tap on the brakes is better than braking very hard because you're going to lag it up. We're going to pull on now. A little bit of a lift off here. It's just. And you have to be very careful you don't get wide there because it's an instant invalidation. This one you'll want to get a little bit of an oversteer moment to let the car slide through there. Also there you have to be cautious you don't spin out, and then coming on to the long full throttle bit towards the bus stop chicane with Blanchimont in between. Where we once saw Max Verstappen overtake round the outside on Felipe Nasser. Spectacular move. Wondering if someone else can do that this week. DRS all up, and then I'll go into silence mode and let the work over to you, mate.
Good stuff, mate. Good luck on your hot lap. Luke Bailey, if you want to start coming out for your out lap, that would be great, mate. So Warislander now just pushing on the accelerator full as he can, all the way down to the first chicane, which of course the source. Slightly wider than some people take there. Gets the car straightened up, and of course back on the accelerator as quick as you can because it's going to be full acceleration for the next 1.6 kilometers, I think it is, maybe even more. Nice through the top of Radillion. Of course we've got Camel and the Camel Straight. As Larry said, you see a lot of Dutch fans here waving the Dutch flag. Combs and Melandi. Should I say? Beautiful cutting of the corners there. Some of these curves, this one at turn 10, Bruxelles, very tricky to cut that corner. Can spin the car, very high curve. Now another very tricky corner coming up now, which is double push. Slight lift of the throttle, get the car turned in, get the power back down again. Warislander running no assists. He was last season, as again this season. Doing a brilliant job, especially with traction. It's very difficult round here with traction control if you don't run in any at all. Bus Stop Chicane. Gets he stopped very nicely. Power down all the way the line. We'll see Warislander come across the line with a 1:43.680. Brilliant lap there, mate.
Yeah, thank you. It's quite alright. Better than last week at least.
So I think benefit Luke will have here is he's been able to go a little bit slower on his out lap, saving those tyres. So Lozak, if you'd like to come out on your out lap, mate, that was brilliant. Luke taking a very similar line to Warislander there, not cutting the curb on the inside of the source. Power down all the way through Eau Rouge and Redillion. Back along. Just navigating Camel. Close onto the Camel straight. We see quite a few overtakes in the race here. It's left with the DRS when it's activated. Very precise, going through the combs and Malmedy. Roselle's turn 10, very tricky. You see, Luke just goes a little bit wide there. There are 3 or 4 lines you can take through there. You see the barrier that, for some reason, Warris seemed to have hit on the lap. Maybe in a glitch, we don't know. But really lift there from Luke. Seemed to get the power down a little bit quicker. Traction a little bit better for Luke than what Warislander did. But we'll soon see with those lap times. Nice throttle management from Luke there. Just have a look now. Now, of course, we've got Code Paul Ferre. Sorry about the pronunciation of that. And of course, that brings us on to one of the most famous corners of this drive. Second most famous corner is at Blanchimont. Max Verstappen going around the outside there during the 2019 or 2018 race. Bus Stop Chicane. Mr. P, do you want to come out on your outlap, mate? Coming across the line with a 1:44.647. Great lap, Luke. Well done, mate. Okay, so we're just about to watch Lozak, our Italian driver, just start his hot lap. Mr. P, do you want to come out on your out lap, mate?
Yeah, I'm out.
A little bit tighter for Lozak there. Probably the slightly faster line to take through there. Coming to Eau Rouge. And right on. Again, as I've said before, this may be where we see overtakes. When that DRS opens up, it's quite a long straight here. Super powerful DRS zone. Coming to the combs, I'm Malmedy. I think just Lozak just invalidating his lap there due to a little bit too much curb, but we'll ignore that for the sake of hot laps. So out wide there. Very aggressive turning from Lozak. Not a bad strategy at all. Turning in aggressively like that, it pre-warns the right tyre, the loaded tyre, which can help with grip. And there is a fine line between preloading and overloading. Of course, now start a lot now. Down towards Blanchimont. Just navigating up to the Bus Stop Chicane, heavy braking, down to second gear. Bit of cross pedal in there from Lozak, and storms up towards the line. And he gets a 1:44.275, but was invalidated, so unfortunate. But good lap, Lozak, well done on that, mate. And we see now Mr. P on his hot lap. Through Eau Rouge and Vandalon. Just leaves it in 7th to navigate through Vandalon there, so very good strategy from Mr. P. Steaming down towards Cooper's heavy braking zone, down in the 4th gear for this. Very nicely done from Mr. P80. Of course, the tricky turn 10. Takes the middle of the track, so we've had 3 different lines from the races this evening going through turn 10. Let's see what he does as he comes down to the double rush. Yeah, quick downshift in 6th. And again, just as I think Lozak did the same, just invalidating coming through that double left-hander. mighty quick lap here. Steaming down ramp, one down to the Bus Stop Chicane. Pedal down, stops towards the finish line and comes across the line with a 1:44.762. So Waris, well done, Mr. P, by the way. Waris, you retain your hot laps record this season, so fair play, mate. But yeah, Mr. P, you want to make your way back to the pits. We'll have a quick debrief from all of you. So yeah, let's start with Waris. Go on. How did you think your hot lap went, mate? Do you think you could improve?
Well, I think it was like a good banker, I guess. I could have been a little bit more aggressive through pull-on, but I didn't want to invalidate that lap. But I steered in a little bit too late, so that I think I lost a bit of time there. And apart from that, I think it was quite good. Not too much time. Yeah, obviously, once I start practicing, there's always time to find you don't think you can find. But for now, I'm very happy as this was my first lap at Spa in 2 weeks or something.
Oh, that's good stuff, mate. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd be happy with a 1:44.7 here. I really would. Yeah, I mean, I'm not known for being the quickest driver in Invictus by a long mile, but we'll soon see how I do on Tuesday when I race. But yeah, Luke, how was your hot lap, mate? What do you think to that?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think turn 7 I went quite wide, so it's a little bit of time there.
Yeah, I mean, would you do anything different for the race next week, or for qualifying, should I say?
No, I think just try and nail a few more corners a bit better. There were just a couple I think I went a tiny bit wide, so just hopefully get them pretty spot on, hopefully, for the qualifying.
Good stuff, mate. Lozak, an invalidated lap, I believe it was turn 12 for the double left-hander. How did you find your outlap, mate? Your hot lap, sorry.
Yeah, I find good, but I was cautious to not invalidate the lap, and at the end I unfortunately invalidated. But yeah, when I invalidated and the game told me, I slowed down at the moment for a blink of a second, because I think that it was over, but then I gone over it. But yeah, I think it was not the best lap for me, but it's a good starting point to build up for the race on Monday and to practice over it.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Well, I wish you all the best in the practice before your race next week. And then, of course, coming on to Mr. P80, who did pretty much the same as Lozak. I think it was turn 12 again. But yeah, how did you find that, Mr. P?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad apart from that. Okay, banker lap. There's obviously time to gain. Just turned in a bit too late into the two left-handers and just drifted wide a bit, but wasn't too bad as a banker and just half-hour practice. So just build from there, really. Yeah,
good stuff. I mean, the one thing we've taken from tonight is that there are many lines through many corners round here. In particular, La Source. Of course, we've got Brazils. I mean, even Bus Stop Chicane, people take that differently, and it's very intriguing as to why drivers do that or how drivers do that. So I'll be very interested to see what happens in qualifying sessions next week. Super looking forward to that. But Waris Landry, is there anything you'd do regarding setups here, or anything you would particularly pay attention to, whether it be ride height or wings, tyre pressures? Is there anything particularly you would do specifically for Spa?
First, I would slightly decrease the ride height because it can give you supposedly a little bit more top end speed. Then there's obviously the low aero, but I like to keep it a little bit higher than some others do, because some people do like 1.3 or 2.3, 2.4, but I'm 3.4, so I have a little bit of downforce through those corners. And something I've noticed, or I'm not quite sure whether it's actually true, but I'm running very low tire pressures because I feel like the tires have more surface and you can brake better, certainly for bus stop. So that's also something I do.
Ah,
And
great info
I'm
there,
not
mate.
quite sure if it works, but it feels like that for me.
No, mate, it's driver feels. It's exactly why we have this show, and to hear from the drivers like yourself, and that kind of information is great for our viewers and the viewers that might likely be racers as well. So it's great stuff. Luke, from yourself, mate, is there anything you would do with your setup specifically for Spa, or what you would watch out for?
I'm same a bit like Waislander. I always seem to be that person that runs higher wings. It's just a personal preference. I think I struggle with a more lower downforce myself, so I always seem to have the higher. And I do the same. I find myself running the tyres very low as well. I think it helps with the temperatures more than I use it for the braking. But yeah,
Okay.
that's me.
I mean, I'm very similar, mate. I very struggle with low downforce setups. Doesn't feel comfortable for me at all. But yeah, moving on to Lozak. Lozak, is there anything specifically regarding setups that you would pay attention to coming around Spa?
Yeah, I pay attention to the suspension because that that can really help you in stability over the corner. I try to uh, don't stiff too much the rear anti-roll bar because it can give you much oversteer in every corner. Of course, it will make you a little bit faster with a stiffer anti-roll bar, especially the rear. But yeah, I try to lower it to be more confident and be more safe over the corner, especially in the race, because yeah, it's one thing the TT setup and one other thing the race setup. that, it's more important to bring home some points.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But yeah, thanks for that, mate. Really insightful. Absolutely, really appreciated. And then finally, Mr. P, same for you, mate. Setups around Spa. What do you pay attention to, mate?
Yeah, very much like Lozak, to be honest. I think a lot of people run stiff rear anti-roll bars for that optimum rear grip, but I think that really applies to quali. So I actually run level front and rear anti-roll bars. They're
Ah, okay.
absolutely equal. I feel you need that front stiffness just to be able to get a bit of turning. Um, and then the rear sort of balanced out, so you haven't got the twitchy rear end, but you've still got the grip there as well.
Ah, fantastic stuff. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for those insights into the Spa circuit and the setups that you use. Absolutely fantastic for our viewers there. So yeah, moving on now. Of course, is pretty much our sign off. But that brings us to next week's action, which I'll just quickly recap. Monday nights, 8 p.m. on the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel is of course the F1 League with Gareth and Sab. And then on to Tuesday night is a realistic performance commentated by Malk and Tim. Same time, 8 p.m. on the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel. And then that moves on to Wednesday for the parallel RAN F2 and F3 leagues, which is of course F2 is by myself, Dan and James Hook, and then the F3 channel is by Harry and Charlie. The last one to mention is of course Sunday, which is the new Xbox League that's joining Invictus Racing League. They'll be running Sundays at 9:30, and they'll be running on the twitch.tv/Invictus Racing Leagues. That's the Twitch URL if you want to catch that. We've also got, by Gareth and Sab, the Final Word podcast, which will be focusing solely on F1, real life F1, nothing to do with esports. So do tune in, do find that. And give it a good listen, because those guys do fantastic podcasts. They have done last season, or the last few seasons. Thoroughly enjoyed it myself, so absolutely brilliant. But yeah, guys, I want to thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have the real racers of Invictus Racing League joining us and taking us around the hot laps of the next upcoming circuit. So thank you very much for that, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Thanks.
Yeah,
No worries.
cheers.
Thank you very much for that, boys, and hopefully we'll see you again soon, and good luck in your upcoming races. So yeah, guys, thank you for joining us for the Paddock Show. I'm Manager Dan. Waris, of course, my co-commentator. Thank you very much for helping me on this show, mate.
Was a pleasure, mate.
Good stuff, mate. So yeah, like I say, mate, good luck with the practicing. We'll see you on track next week, and I'll see you very shortly, Waris.
Yeah, I wish you all the best of luck for next week too, mate.
Cheers.
See you.
So, yeah, thanks, mate. So everyone out there, please do stay safe during this difficult times in the world. Do keep yourselves indoors. Do not travel if you don't have to. Do respect the 2-meter distance rule regarding the COVID-19 virus. The quicker we implement these procedures, the quicker we will get back to normality. So I do wish you all a safe and lovely time with your families. Keep your friends and families safe, and do abide by every government's and the World Health Organization's rules. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. So Waris, you take care, mate, and I'll see you shortly.